Meeting to order. Join me in pledging allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for
Yeah.
Jack Cutting,
Here.
Lawrence Myers,
Here.
Kathy Braun. Here. Tom Hooper,
Here.
Mike Pollard,
Here.
and Susan Johnson. Here. We have a quorum.
All right. We'd like to welcome our newest member, Kathy Braun.
Thank you.
Yes, Candy.
Hey.
Happy to
I got
be
to
here.
welcome her across the parking lot.
So I have to guess, were you the driver of the golf cart?
Mm-hmm.
I know, it just made me smile when I saw
Oh, yes, our electric vehicle, like we like to call it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you all have a copy of the agenda in front of you. So, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion. Any second?
Second.
Second. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. And then we need the regular minutes.
Which they
The
received
last meeting.
electronically, and some of them asked for copies tonight, so.
Right, right. So we'll take 30 seconds or so to just look over it. You received a copy already and refresh your memory. There are no additions or corrections. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes, the last meeting.
I motion we approve the minutes.
All right, have a motion on the floor,
Second.
and a second by Tom. Any other discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Minutes are officially approved. Financial report, ma'am.
So there are 2 pages to your financial report. The one that Tom's holding right now is a vertical one, and it is 2-sided, and this indicates the revenues and expenses to the fund since roughly May of last year up until the end of June. And you will note current balance in the account of $33,682.21.
Did you have that?
Yes, I wondered why I had an extra one, sorry. I need one. There you go, thank you. And then you have one that is printed horizontally, and that just shows the same information on, not the one that says budget at the top, but the one that is a table of the lodging tax receipts. That just shows the same, a longer range collection of information on the lodging tax collected. The financial report includes interest and lodging tax collections, and the one that is an Excel spreadsheet just shows lodging taxes, does not include interest. Just for those who may not be aware of that. I can make these up.
Okay.
Sandra, on the, we had a great, looks like you had a real good May.
Yes, we had a very strong May.
Do we know what spiked that?
Well, so some of the properties pay quarterly, and
Okay.
so that anytime there's a spike like that, we assume that it's not just 1 month's worth of receipts, but it's probably someone that paid, several
In
months at a
arrears,
time in May. So those receipts are collected by the city treasurer and just reported out to myself and to the tourism tax collection on a monthly basis like that. May was a very strong month.
May was real strong, but probably running a little bit behind on the year.
Yes, that's probably accurate because our, really since the flooding started this year
Yeah.
across the board, May was a strong month in terms of attendance too, but a lot of it was groups and students. But in terms of actually heads and beds, the year is probably down because of flooding.
Yeah, especially June was
June was really
Terrible.
low foot traffic wise as well. And I'll just go ahead and tell you that I reported to the Tourism Advisory Council because they track more of that kind of information, and I'll be also reporting it to the Board of Aldermen. But we had so many phone calls in the month of June because of the media coverage of the flooding events. They immediately, think that everything along the Mississippi River must be flooded out. So
Right.
some of them were calling us, and that's a good thing. But there were probably some people also who did not, didn't bother to call. They just made other plans.
We might also be a little bit surprised how much how much traffic comes across on a ferry, which has been closed since.
Right.
And as you know,
February or whatever.
so the Chester Bridge was closed, the
Yeah.
Cape Girardeau Bridge was closed, and for a few days, the Jefferson Barracks Bridge was either closed or reduced to one lane.
Sure didn't
So we
help.
were in effect cut off from Illinois for quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, the ferry, they haven't had any chance to run for months now. So we're hoping, I know they're hoping to get open as soon as possible. Yeah, but that's a good observation. So that's your financial.
Okay. Any other questions on the financial report? We have to have a vote on the financial report.
I think we. Give me a second. Yeah, we.
Motion was made.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of the financial report.
so moved.
Okay, Tom? Second?
I'll second.
All right. Kathy, second. Any other discussion? Not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any others approved? That's in the financial report.
I just wanted to also point out, because this crossed my mind, Mike, when you were talking about it, but I didn't actually say it out loud. We also stepped up our social media posts during that period and, boosting things outside of our community, because that's one thing that we can do on a short-term basis to really try to counteract that perception. So we were doing some targeted Facebook ads, especially in the St. Louis metro area. And for events, we also did some extra targeting in Cape Girardeau and Farmington because we knew nobody was coming across the river. So just FYI, I just wanted to.
No, that's good, that's good. If we look at, and we're probably gonna put the pieces together, but if we look at future spending here the next few months, okay? And we compare that, I guess, to this, should we consider an effort to push it a little harder? A little bit harder than usual, I don't know. I'm just, the balance looks great. I mean, the balance hangs between 30 and 32,000, 30 and 6,000 in May. Is that pretty, year to year, is that what you're seeing, is pretty consistent balance?
There typically is a cash carry forward in case there was a year that there was no income or, a really big economic or environmental impact that would cause a very low income. And that, we're going to talk about that here shortly with the FY20 budget. But your observation is right on in that regard.
Well, I'm just saying that, go ahead.
Well, sometimes we have a reserve because sometimes we have once a year expenses like the billboards when those come up.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have to we kind of balance out, and then we pay a few.
And understandable, very understandable. I
And
guess
we generally do a spring push and then a fall push.
Right.
And the river push back this spring.
And I'm wondering if therefore the fall push maybe should be pushed a little harder. And I'm just saying that because of the lodging and of the shops or whatever, they probably had a little bit of an off year. The numbers are kind of showing that, right? So why not, if that's what the funds are for, why not consider you bringing ideas to us maybe next month about
Sure.
if we're gonna do an extra, I don't know, if we're gonna do an extra 1,000, if we're gonna do an extra 2,000, one, are we willing to do that? And two, does it make sense for the businesses? It's what it's for, right? I mean,
Well, it's to promote tourism, but that's in effect what that is, yes.
Yeah.
So I might suggest, and you could decide to do some of this tonight when we talk about expenses. I've got one program that I'm recommending that we expand and another new program, but it wouldn't hit until December just because it's something new. But one thing that we could do and that I collectively have all the tools in place would be to do an increased social media campaign in the next 30 days. And then we could decide at the next meeting if we wanted to do more of that for 30, 60, or 90 days. But there's nothing stopping you from doing more of that if that's something you want to do. It's a very cost-effective means. We could probably spend, $500 and have some results from it, so.
just an idea. And you touched on something, and I appreciate you saying that, well, it's for tourism, not the businesses. We want to be clear, the idea is to raise tourism, right? Which is, in the long run, is to raise your general revenue for the town.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to accomplish here, right?
That's right.
Is to raise general revenue, and we all know what general revenue goes towards.
Right.
So thank you for clarifying that, you're exactly right, but it's ultimately, it's what the funds are for. So,
Well, and the only reason I stressed it is because it's in the statute that way, and I know
That's
you're
right.
familiar with that.
that's right.
But one of the beauties of the social media is that I can get so specific with that, I can target only zip codes that are within.
Well, and that's why I mentioned,
outside of 50.
because you said that might be why we saw the boost in May. You mentioned that you
Right.
did some other targeted
Right,
electronic media.
right.
So-
Because we knew that there would be an issue with that, yeah.
Okay.
Especially for some of those events, because if an event has 20 people at it, obviously that really looks odd. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so we did some boosts for that. But that would be something that you could consider even in the near term, and then we could look at a longer range campaign at the next meeting if you wanted to.
Okay. FY '20 budget.
Okay, everyone has a sheet that looks like this. This is the page out of the City of St. Genevieve budget. It's page 25. This is everything on one sheet that this committee has jurisdiction over, if you will. This is the Tourism Tax Commission Fund. It happens to be fund number 23 on the city books. The numbers that begin with 4s, those are revenues. The numbers that begin with 6s, those are expenditures. And you can kind of see the pattern of actual revenues over the past few years. And you see the current budget that we're in, where we were on the 8 months in terms of actual revenues and actual expenses. And of course, you have a newer version of that in your sheet tonight. And then what I am proposing this year is basically a lift of the FY19 income and expense line items. You can see that 23,850 anticipated in tourism taxes. It's a little too early to know where we're actually going to end up on that, but so I just use that number, and we generally have about $150. It might be a little bit more than that because you can see we were already at 118 on the 8 month to add up to an anticipated revenue of 24,000. And then you can see the emergency fund balance. Your committee has tried in the past to carry forward between 20, 30,000 in that. This is one of the few, it might be the only place, because of the way this fund is set up, this fund does not sunset at the end of the city's fiscal year. The funds roll forward and they never get depleted or swept from the account. So that's why there's an emergency fund balance there, because that will remain regardless of how many expenses are paid in September versus October. It doesn't affect this committee at all. But we do include, obviously, a budget page for the aldermen to approve.
Did you have another one of those
Oh,
by chance?
sure.
No, that's okay. I can meet
I've
Tom
got a
and
couple copies
Tom
of it,
and
I think. You can have mine if you want.
You sure?
Yeah, it's in my other book.
Okay.
So, looking down at the expenditures items, I'm proposing a $24,000 line item for purposes of the city budget. If you wanted to raise that next year, because there were funds available or excess funds coming in versus what was anticipated, you could make that change and we could take it to the alderman for a budget amendment at any time. This is kind of a placeholder to, to keep this committee moving forward.
And we have exceeded that budget or come close to it a couple of times in the past.
Yeah, it depends on what
Depends
month
on-
expenses are paid.
Months and
yeah.
years, yeah, depending on where they lay.
This is based on the city's fiscal year, which is October 1 to September 30th. I know you know.
Okay, any more questions on the budget? Okay, thanks, Sam. Old business. Update on the spring travel insert.
So as you will remember, well, except for Kathy, so I'll just go through it. In the spring and the fall, the state of Missouri sends out what they call Missouri Spring or Missouri Fall Vacation Travel Insert. This is one of those like things to see and do in Missouri, glossy inserts into newspapers, major metro areas, St. Louis, Kansas City, all the way out to like Chicago, Indianapolis, Oklahoma, locations in Kansas. And so it is actually sent to several million individuals. And so as a result of that, we get leads through the State Division of Tourism for people who say, send me information about, St. Genevieve, St. Louis, Hannibal, whatever it might be that they've asked for specifically. And some people say, send me all the information from Missouri destinations. So they compile that information, they send it to us in the form of leads, and we send out information to them. Some of them are electronic, and some of them specify that they want to receive physical copies. So that has been going very well. It's not completed yet, so I don't have the final number, but we have been sending out information to people, both electronically and print information, since probably April or the beginning of May. So every week we get a list of leads from them, and my staff keeps sending out that information. And the Tourism Tax Commission is paying the postage on those leads, so that's a good thing. So this is an ongoing program. It should wrap up pretty soon, and when I get the final report from them, I'll just email that information to the committee members. I thought I might have it by tonight, but at the time I didn't.
All right, any other questions on spring travel insert? Any other old business?
Yeah, we had our event this weekend that we've been doing in cooperation with tourism here in town. And I've got just some numbers that came in. We had an extra person in our shop, and they kept track of people that came in. And we had 403 guests that came in and visited our shop over the weekend for the artisan event. This is where we have, so we had 6 guest stars. One of them canceled due to illness. We had 31 bed nights, the people that came to our event specifically that had beds in town. This is the first time we actually did Facebook posts for the event. We kind of ramped up Facebook up through there. And last year I went through, and last year during the same time period we only had 2,000 posts visited on our Facebook page. This year we paid for and got 6,100 booths on our booths for less than $100. And we've reached a total of 13,619 people
1,036 engaged in that, 252 of them shared it. And from this Fake-Bus post, we actually had a bus tour come in and stop by on Saturday afternoon with 28 people in it. They were railroad enthusiasts that were over in Farmington, and coming back by, they called and said, "Hey, we saw about your event, can we come over?" And we found a place for them to park, and they came in, and they spent about 45 minutes with us, and, you know,
Especially late on a Saturday afternoon.
and they were in Farmington, they couldn't find a place in Farmington that would let them use a restroom or anything like that, and we had refreshments there, and they thought it was great. They had refreshments, they had a restroom, they had an art show. We also had co-op with the Healthy Planet, we did an ad in them, and this a quarter-page, full-color ad, $100, which is something that I think we might want to consider for some of our events and things. And it's and they publish 90,000 per printing, so that's something that I think I'll probably leave that with you.
We have used Healthy Planet for certain special events. Typically, I think we do the Christmas event in this.
But just because
Yeah,
we
we
have
could do it more
so many
often.
outdoor things here now, and the walking and all these events, because of the group of people that it brings, it might be a time to revisit that and maybe do more with them, because for the cost of the ad was phenomenal. And one of our artists actually was their art director and wrote an article for us in it as well. But it was just, but she kind of says, "You ought to advertise. It's $100." So we did it.
And that $100 worth of exposure, whether they came for the event or they come to your shop later.
Right,
you
yeah.
can beat it.
But if we do that as more as a community, we personally paid for our budget. We spent, not counting the co-op that we did with Early American Life magazine, which got us we worked with tourism. They paid half, and we paid half for an inside back cover of a national magazine. But we spent $1,140 in additional advertising. But we brought people in. We had a good shop. Candy had a phenomenal day in her shop. Thank you for calling her and sending the people down. The mayor found people walking around trying to
I cannot
find
figure
where she
that,
was.
and that's for the life of me. I had two people they were all the way down on Front Street, all the way heading to the sewer plant with their map,
Lovely.
looking for Candy's shop.
Well, we need the numbers on the
Something's gotta
places
go.
that match
Something's gotta
the
change.
numbers on
I
the
couldn't
map,
believe,
just to-
and I was just happening to go
Have
down
it
there.
on so they go, "You're here."
I
Okay,
know.
I can see the map.
Yeah,
Because
they
have the
were-
nu-
they left-
just-
they-
just
they
don't know
made a
what,
left
you
out of the
know,
welcome
center, I
And number
guess.
13, this is number 10. Where's number 10 on the map? We just need some of those around town.
Yeah.
Do you mean a number on the house, actually?
On the houses or businesses or something in front of them, so that we have these wonderful maps that have numbers on them, but people don't know where they are to start.
Yeah.
And if they're standing and looking at a house, or looking at the old brick, and it says, number 7, okay, now I know where I'm at.
Right.
The only issue with that, and
And-
I'm all for updating the map, but the only thing is that if a new shop opens up, it's all alphabetical, so
Right.
all those numbers would change.
Well, we should do, the numbers could stay the same, and then, additional shops could fit in. Of course, and different colors and you have kind of a different sequence for bed and breakfast, and you have them for
We
other
do.
studio. And then they would fit within those and do a different color for numbers that match like they do on the map. Something like that, because people, they don't know where to start, because I'm here, where is since they're new to town, they don't know where anything is.
I'll put you on my map committee.
When we were doing dress up Saturday, St. Mary people. And that's, but they didn't really know where they were.
I've
Just
happened to me more than once with people.
Yeah,
They get turned around, that map, I don't know what it is.
It's a square.
But they just need to know.
And once they get to one location, they're good.
Yeah,
Then they can figure it out.
they're
You're
looking
right.
around, and they just look around and forward, and they finally,
Yeah.
if they see a sign that they can relate to on the map, they're good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what language they speak, because when we're traveling in Europe, it's the same thing. If we find something that's on the map that we can recognize, then you're safe.
I'm writing
We
it
had
down.
we had a phenomenal event, and people were really happy. We had a lot of customers that were really happy to see the artists, and some of them did extremely well. Vernon with his really nice eagles, he sold 6 of those gold leaf eagles.
Oh, they're
And
beautiful.
those are not in everybody's budget.
It was a good event.
Very good.
And thank you for tourism for helping sponsor that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, any other old business? All right, on the new business, approval of expenses.
So before I start with this, is there anyone on the committee that doesn't have one of these? Because I ended up with two, and it makes me worry a little bit. You've got one right in front of you, Mike. I see. Okay, all right. So, well, as I was saying, there's several items on here. The first one for your consideration is a search engine marketing for 2 months. This is a coordinated search engine marketing that we participate in along with the Missouri Division of Tourism. And so for the new faces at the table, we participate on a 50-50 basis with the state. We invest $330 per month and the state puts in $330. So I'm suggesting the next 2 months, which would be August, I think it's August and September. Search engine marketing. Yep, August and September. So that is the first item there, $660. The second one, the CTM rack card distribution. This is a distribution program that we have participated in for a couple of years now. It covers, what we have traditionally participated in are to have St. Genevieve rack cards in the informational brochure racks in all of the hotels up and down Interstate 55, like from South St. Louis down to, I think, Sykeston area. And then we also have had them in the St. Louis attractions. And also, we were paying to have them added to the St. Louis and Kansas City welcome centers. But if you have, on your second sheet, you have a sheet that looks like this, CTM. I'm proposing, there's an A and a B there. On A, you can see the Interstate 55 Missouri Hotels program. Their normal rate on that is $125 per month. We get a special rate because we bundle our participation with them, $75. The third bullet item there is the St. Louis Attractions Program. That's $80 a month. The middle one is a new program that I'm suggesting. This is the St. Louis Local and Corporate Program. These are the large businesses in the St. Louis metro area, Ralston, Purina, those kind of companies that have a lot of foot traffic through it, and sometimes they're visitors that are, coming to the St. Louis area. So the local and corporate program in the St. Louis area, those three add up to a subtotal of $320 per month. And so on the cover sheet, that adds up to the second column there, $1,920 for 6 months. I'm actually suggesting that you consider adding item B. This is not something that we've participated in previously, but it is adding the St. Louis downtown hotels. This would be the Hyatt, all those breweries that are right there by the Arch, the 18 hotels in the downtown area that have the highest tourism foot traffic. There are a lot of hotels further west in the county that don't, well, they have a lot of corporate traffic
Clayton
too.
as well.
Yes, yes.
And a lot of these are for convention centers and
Yes.
for the convention center. And so a lot of conventions are there and they have extra days.
Right, the convention center hotel is one of the ones that's in that
Yeah,
18.
yeah. And oftentimes people are looking for things to do when they're at
Yeah,
those
the day
events.
trip, that's
Yeah.
great, this place is a great day trip.
Yes,
If you're up
yes.
there.
Or they could be coming to St. Louis
Yeah.
from like Memphis or something, and they could stop by here on with that. So that would be an extra $150 per month, as you can see there. So in my writing, you see if you did both of those, the A and the B, it would be $470 per month total. So that's where the $2,820, that would be 6 months at the 470. So that's my recommendation, is that we expand that program. It's been very successful for us. And they handle the distribution, that's the beauty of it. They
What about the
have
printing, what about the additional printing costs?
So that is right underneath it. With them, we can get 10,000 rack cards for
Okay.
$392.
So that's the 392 versus the 250?
That's correct. That is correct. So,
If we didn't do it, in other words,
right, then you would only need 250 if you're not going to do option B.
And they keep these cards, and we only we have to reprint them when they run out. So if they're, so as they put them out, they contact us and say, we need, to do some more cards, and we can choose then, if they're going real rapidly, 500, 10,000, however we want to do.
right.
That's a great printing rate.
It's a great printing rate. Because they do it once a month with a company that just does rack card, well, they might do other things too, but they do a boatload of rack cards. And so this rate, by the way, is actually available for local businesses. So it would be great to see, and I know there are some businesses that are considering it, but it would be great to see St. Genevieve's rack card flanked by, this hotel or that B&B or this shop that was interested to do it. And they wouldn't, they could choose any of these and participate at that monthly rate. The minimum printing, though, is 5,000 quantities. So even if a local business wanted to do that, their minimum would be 5,000 rack cards and $250.
And they will also, if you want them for your own use, they will print extras for you and ship them to you. There's a shipping cost on it. But that way, if you wanted to use them for your own distribution in your shop or whatever, right?
When would this start?
This would be effective in August.
August through January is a 6-month price, okay,
Right,
it's
right.
there, yeah.
And did you say we've done A, but B is something new?
Correct. B is what I'm proposing. A is actually slightly modified. I took off the St. Louis and Kansas City welcome centers because I feel like we can handle that distribution ourselves, and I would rather recommend that we include that local and corporate program.
So we're looking at just under 1,000 difference, right? Going from A to B, 1920 to 28?
Yeah. And $900 difference.
Plus about 150 in printing. Oh, excuse me, 140.
Right, yeah. So, $1,000. I like it. To me, it kind of goes hand, for $1,000 or ish, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I was kind of saying, is that maybe we can make an
Step
extra
it up
push.
a little.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make an extra push to make
Yeah.
try to counter for the flood and the hot weather and.
And when we travel at the hotels, I always love to pick up that
Always.
stuff. No, tourist centers and places like that, not so much, but at the hotel, when I'm relaxed, I grab everything
I
and
know.
read through it.
Well, you know what else I'm wondering is, yeah, it's
So
great.
the
it's-
hotels is good then?
Yeah, it's great having them up and down the highway, but how many people that are at business meetings and stuff have spouses staying in the hotels, and they grab them, and it's a day trip.
They're like, honey, this is what we're doing tomorrow.
This is what we're doing tomorrow. Little
Well,
wine, little shopping,
Right.
I'm
little.
dropping you off at your meeting, and I'm going shopping.
I'm taking the car.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And
And
you
I-
said that, oh, I'm sorry. You said that it would not include the welcome centers at Kansas City and St. Louis. You would just direct ship
Exactly.
information to them?
Yeah, which we do that a lot
Mhm.
already. But since, I don't know, since they had them on their route, and it's pretty high volume, so. But I would rather, I'd rather let us handle that and them handle something else where it's a lot more
That's-
labor intensive.
right, right.
To
Makes
ship a
sense.
box is not
Yep.
such a big deal, so.
Thank you.
I think that represents a good target plan.
Yeah. And
Do you have any other
I
discussion?
have proofs of mine ready, I just have to fit in the budget. If we're doing that. What? We can do a line item vote, or we can do,
Just do the
wait,
whole thing.
or wait
Usually
for
we
all
go
of
through
them.
all of them, and then they vote one total,
Yeah.
but since this was kind of like an option A and B situation, do you have, are you saying that you prefer the option A, A and B together?
Together.
And I don't see any reason why we can't do that, because I think we'll pick up more from the hotels here locally, the bigger hotels there. And since you can ship to the visitor centers ourselves, and don't have to, we're not captive to them for distribution there.
Right.
Right.
I also kind of like that these were mostly the downtown hotels, so they're ones closer to the Arch, and they're going to be, we'll be a national park unit pretty soon. So they'll be going, who would go and stay in a downtown hotel and not go to the Arch? So they'll see a little bit about St. Genevieve at the Arch, so
Yep.
they might come back to their hotel and go, oh, that's that place,
Any, do we foresee any changes in current format of the rat card during this print batch? That's my.
There's one, so I went through that with the rep, and there's one phrase that we have to change, because it says, now pending as a
Yeah.
future
Yeah.
National Historic Park, and now we'll say, now approved as a National Historic Park. Because even once it opens, their word approved is appropriate as opposed to pending. So we'll have to make one text change.
Is that what it currently is?
Yeah. Kathy, do you want?
And
got
these,
some?
these tend to sit in that rat card without that much showing.
Mhm.
And sometimes sometimes you're lucky to get in the bottom row and you can actually see, and it's glass, and you can see the rest of the card.
There's another program that they're bringing online, and I asked them to get me information about it. And so visualize you're in a hotel lobby, you can see that display of rack cards over there. They're getting ready to add like a display banner across the top that you can rent on a monthly basis for, it could be special events, or it could be like now a national park, whatever we would like to have on there. So I told her I thought that that was really appealing and that we would like information on that. So maybe by the next meeting we'll have more information on that.
So, when would the new print?
They do them monthly, so they have some of our existing rack cards because of the existing program, but I know we're getting low. So I would just have to let them know, that's a pretty minor change, I just have to let them know if you vote it tonight that it's been approved and that we want to make that one change and get it in their next monthly run. That's how they provide such cost-effective print prices, because they run them all as batches, so. It's not a very good answer, but I'm guessing August.
Yeah. Well, and to me, I think that the fact that it's 1 hour south of St. Louis, I think that should stick out more.
Okay, if we
Maybe
can.
have
These
that,
color-
maybe have that be lighter background than it even
Absolutely.
already is.
Than it already
So that
is.
type thing
Sure.
pops.
That, and maybe the top line of
Probably
that could be
bolded up a
bold
little
or
bit.
bigger, yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
very important that they
Yeah,
pull
see,
out and see 1 hour south
We
of
need to
St. Louis.
especially get as much of this.
Because there's not a map on it.
Big
By
and-
reading it, you really don't know where it is.
Right, right.
So if they don't see that,
And that's just a little muted in there, and for those of us who are
It is.
older and can't see without bifocals.
So lighter background and bold the first line.
bold or
Okay.
font,
Or that- or
larger
that
font,
top line, yeah.
bold, something, that first line.
Yeah, bring it up.
That's a good suggestion.
Because I just had some
Especially since
cards
our-
made, and until I actually had it in my hand, I said, oh, made a mistake there.
Yeah,
And it was just a text size.
right. Especially since we're gonna target 10,000 more of those right downtown. We wanna make sure they see the location, or that it's close.
Right.
Yeah.
Will do.
Because even a lot of people in St. Louis think that St. Genevieve is, gosh, I go up there to visit somebody or what, are you guys going home tonight?
In our covered wagon.
Oh dear. Okay, well, in your next item that you have, so Some people know about this already because they might have been to a previous Tourism Advisory Council meeting, but Missouri Life magazine, we advertise in that periodically. It's not cheap, but it is very well read across the state of Missouri. It's really the only glossy coffee table type publication that that has a lot of distribution across the state of Missouri. So in the month of December, they do a holiday issue, and Candy, in fact, brought to the attention of the Tourism Advisory Council that there was, oh, there's a nice Costa Rica ad there, that there was, in the holiday issue, like Herman, Missouri, Kimmswick, St. Charles, all of them had at least a half-page ad, maybe a couple of them were quarter pages, in this holiday issue. And, well, I didn't have it in my budget last year, and it isn't in the budget this year, but this would definitely be something that would be, you know, appropriate and beneficial for St. Genevieve. So here's an example. These two quarter-page ads that you can see on the bottom here, this is Chili Coffee in Lebanon. And then I'll show you. This is St. Charles. They have a full-page ad. And then they have good articles too. Here is Christmas in Herman. This is a half-page ad right here. And so that's what I'm suggesting, is that we do a Christmas in Herman. Now, interestingly enough, you can see these smaller ads with the same color bar across the top. These are like when we do an ad for St. Genevieve Tourism, and I send the information out to the local businesses and ask if they want to participate. So on your black and white version of this sheet right here, you can see that a half page is $1,050. If a local merchant wanted to do one of these small 1/12 pages, that's $225. So for some people that's out of reach, but for others they might be interested, especially if they are a gift item kind of thing, or maybe even like you would want to get someone a gift certificate, maybe for a B&B stay or dinner or something like that. They might like to participate in something like that if we do, you know, the half page at the top. So that's why I'm suggesting a half page, and would like to, if you decide that you want to invest in this, I would like to get that information out to the merchants early enough so that they can make a choice as to whether they want to participate in that holiday issue.
Yeah, because they have a September deadline.
Exactly. So if
So
we,
September 10th.
right.
Would you have to get a minimum number of merchants to participate, or it could be one, or it could be
It could,
6?
yeah, it could be one or two, because they'll fill this space with
But
whoever else
they
wants
can,
to. Or,
they can position, you know, if we get local people to add, we can maybe have, you know, half of those take on with at least our local things.
Are you guaranteed the upper half of the page, or is it just?
well, here's an example where there's a half-page ad on the lower half. I typically, when I turn in any ad, I ask for a right-hand page in the upper right-hand corner, if it's available. Some people don't think to ask for that, so they just place them wherever, and you can't always get it. We're not like paying a premium to do that, but I typically do. I ask for the top of the page, and I ask for a right-hand read if we can get it. They usually are accommodating for a regular advertiser, and we are a regular advertiser, so.
They're pretty easy to work with.
I think so.
Who designed the ad, or do you have something in mind yet?
Generally, I do. I mean, I work with them, and we typically do, something along our branding. Since it's a holiday, we might bring in some images from the Christmas festival or something like that to kind of bring out the holiday spirit in it.
Yeah, showing some things that are in a window that are marketable, so people, oh, they have shops down there too, not just houses. And
Right.
so it's, oh, and they have wine, and, you gotta-
Is that the December issue or winter issue?
It's their December issue. Actually, it's November, December on this
Yeah, so
last
that's
year
what I was
it
wondering when it
It
was.
is November,
Usually
December.
goes out
yeah.
10th to 15th of November.
Of November? Would we target our Christmas holiday parade? Or, I should say weekend, not the parade, but the weekend, that weekend? Or
Right.
not? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, special event that weekend, yeah.
Mhm.
But not ending at that weekend.
Right.
Keeps
No,
going.
no, it's really.
I think a lot of people
Right.
think that all we do is that first weekend in December, and then
Yeah,
it's over.
so we got,
Right.
so we got to get, featuring the Christmas parade on these days.
Interestingly enough, and just as long as I've got the magazine in my hand, you see this Explore Missouri with this yellow line on it? That's actually a bus tour that Missouri Life magazine put together, and they hired a professional company that does bus tours, and St. Genevieve is one of the stops on these. They had one in May, and they'll have another one in October. And they're not cheap. The per person price is $1,500. So it's pretty upscale, and so they have been very much a good partner in like including St. Genevieve. This is not your committee, but I'll just tell you that this week I met with the Chamber of Commerce and asked them to consider sponsoring a night on the Bike Across Missouri tour for, sponsored by Missouri Life magazine. They do a Bike Across Missouri route every year. Normally it goes across like Highway 36 across the top part of the state. 2 years ago it was like a Route 66, and they went through like Lebanon and Rolla and down to Joplin. Next year it's coming to southeast Missouri, and they would like to do it from Poplar Bluff to St. Genevieve, but there's a price tag that comes with that. So I spoke with the Tourism Advisory Council about it and met with the Chamber of Commerce along with the editor of Missouri Life magazine and asked them about that. But my point is that there are a lot of things that they do that no other publication is doing, for what it's worth. So, a little bit off the subject there, but so what I'm proposing is that we do a half page for St. Genevieve in their holiday gift and event guide, which is their November, December issue like this one.
What else are we doing for December, do we know?
For this committee or
Yeah,
across?
I mean, are we doing St. Louis, any,
So generally in December, we do specialty the tourism program does specialty advertising in like the Healthy Planet, and also, well, we would have just finished the fall insert for day trips in like October timeframe. This would represent a first a real investment in a holiday style ad for this committee. Traditionally, we've done the next big push after the fall would be like that Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
romance, that kind of a thing in February.
well, I think it's great that we're doing Christmas, let's, yeah, go for it.
I do too, I just wonder, so this versus spending $1,000 in ads and newspapers or something, I don't know, just throwing it out there, radio, newspaper, for $1,000, what's our other options?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
right. So I just recently did a little under $1,000 on radio with St. Louis PBS, NPR, excuse me, NPR radio station. So we could do some of that also in the fall or around holiday season. There's nothing to preclude you from doing this and doing something like that. Just that magazines have a longer lead time and I need to get the ad together, so. Radio we can do in like a week turn.
And you already have some holiday budget in regular tourism money versus from here for
Correct.
holiday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we can
Yeah.
also find some
But I
areas where
don't
we
generally
can
do.
enhance it.
Yeah, I don't generally do radio at holiday. I have not done that previously. We do a lot of regional newspaper ads at holiday.
But this is 33,000 subscribers,
Yeah.
and that's pretty
Yeah.
statewide.
And it is
yeah.
statewide, and they
It's a
are.
nice, it's a nice
And
magazine.
people keep the magazine.
Mhm.
Well, I think the half page is a great idea, because when I'm flipping through, I don't look at the little ones.
Yeah.
No.
But if a half page caught my attention with the town, I'd look under it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
especially the little ones from a town, it's like, okay, this town that doesn't have anything going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I tell you what else I liked, that I think you hit on was, you said was it Herman's?
Mm-hmm,
That had the red banner across the top and then the ads under it had the red banner.
right, tie it
I
in.
picture something like that same thing with fleur-de-lis, little fleur-de-lis all the way across it, and then the same thing for all the ads under it. Something.
If they will allow us that, they're very visually coordinated through here.
Oh, are
so
they? Okay.
Probably, like, see, the
Like all the
Kimmsway
blue
color
on
is
that
light
one.
blue. They probably wouldn't let us do an image in it because they're, you know, they
Yeah,
have.
Herman has that red color on that.
Well, yeah,
But it would be tied together with a
with a
common
theme,
color.
with something,
yeah.
something that would tie it together, yeah,
Mhm.
would be nice.
I will certainly ask if we can have fleur-de-lis. I just would be surprised if they would say yes, just because of,
We're also on a really short lead time, though, for additional ads for shops that might want to advertise in that.
Mhm.
So we got to really get on the soliciting those from people to.
well, that's why I'm
because we have a
bringing it
bigger-
up
We have a bigger
now.
impact if we can do that.
Absolutely, I think, yeah.
But
Well,
the-
and to some extent, it'll be first come, first served, because there'll be 6 of those
Yeah,
under us. I mean,
yeah.
there could be more than that, but they would be on the next page, so. This is probably a pretty good example right there. I'm sorry. See, the tree houses with the green foliage, it's probably, but you could give it as a gift, I guess. I'm just looking at the seasonality of some of these other
Yeah.
ads. This is.
Like I said, Spike, who was here this weekend, that's a regular ad right there.
I thought that
Yeah.
looked
But
familiar.
I know most of the people that put ads in there.
Yeah. Well, so that was the other thing this is something new that we haven't done before. It'll take a little time to pull it together, so I wanted to propose it now. Based on your input this evening, I mean, I definitely could put together some additional suggestions for you for next time, especially along the lines of radio, social media. I mean, unless you want to go ahead and do some targeted social media in the next 30 days, I could do that. It's easy to set it up.
I learned how to do that this week.
You did, good for you.
For doing the boosts and stuff for our
Yeah.
ads.
Well, if we're doing the 1,000 on the extra 1,000 on the rack cards,
Well, the rat cards would be due, now, and then this won't be due until
Right.
October,
Yeah.
which will be staggered in the payments on
Yeah.
these. So money will be coming in as it's going out.
Yeah, this we won't actually pay for until probably January.
oh, really?
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, a lot of publications
Okay.
are after it's been published and
Well,
everything.
that kind of
so you don't
helps,
have to pay for it.
yeah.
So do we take the whole package as a vote, or?
Yeah, well,
Whatever you have.
I would like to make a motion that we vote on whether we should vote on each line item separately or do them all That's one vote for the approval of the expenses here.
Why don't we do it all at one vote, and if it doesn't pass, then we can break it into.
Okay, okay.
Sounds good.
Been to more than one meeting.
So I move that we vote to approve the left-hand column of a total of $4,922 in expenses for the half-page ad in Missouri Life magazine, the rack card reprinting, rack card distribution for 6 months, and 2 months of the SEM, the search engine marketing.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lawrence. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
I like those ideas, Sandra.
Great, thank you.
You ready?
I guess.
Okay, so first, we're going, I need someone to open up nominations for president. That does not mean you have to state who the president is. I just want you to open up the nomination. Okay.
I'll open up the nomination.
Thank you. Okay, and then does anybody have a nomination for president?
I'll nominate Jack.
Okay, Jeff, do you accept?
Yes.
Great, I'll need a first and a second. Or I should say, are there any other nominations? Okay, I'll need a first and second approval for Jeff. First. Got it.
Second.
Kathy? Okay, we need to close the nominations.
So moved.
I need another.
Need a second.
Closed it,
Second.
second it, thank you.
See, here it is.
And then we have to do a
Well,
vote, we have to
Just
go
for your
one by
numbers,
one,
if you need them for you.
just to make sure.
No, I mean.
So we will, I'll just go down the list and
Yeah, we did.
abstain, vote A or nay. So Jack
And-
abstaining.
And 61 was
Uh,
boosted,
Lawrence.
the rest of that,
Yeah.
for 7,000.
Kathy
Aye.
Natural.
and Tom,
Yes, what?
or Jack being president, do you agree?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Any day.
And then Susan, you don't have to vote on this one, so we're good. Okay, congratulations, Jack. Now we have to do the same thing for vice president. So
You have to
we
open?
We have to open according to the sheet.
Open it.
Thank you. And do we have any nominations for vice president?
And let me nominate Mike Fowler. Vice.
Mike, do you accept?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, we'll need a first and a second.
Move that nominations be closed.
Oh, we need a first and a second first.
I'll do first.
I'll do a second.
Okay, sorry. Sure. Then I need to close nominations.
So moved.
Tom and... Thank you. Okay, Mike is the new vice president. Oh, wait.
Don't wait.
Okay. Jack,
Yay.
Lawrence,
Hey,
Kathy,
Yay.
Tom,
Yay.
Mike abstain. Got it. You are the new vice president. And then we have to do the same thing for secretary and treasurer.
Now, sometimes in the past, people could volunteer for secretary treasurer. The city actually does the role of the treasurer, and Megan does the role of the secretary, but it's in the bylaws that there is a secretary treasurer position.
it's
So
the same it's the same person.
It's generally one person.
Yeah.
then that person can ask us for anything that they would need on the side.
Who is it currently? know?
Yes, maybe.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I didn't mean that.
It could be you, and you just don't know.
Well, it was.
You know what, I believe that that person had, was not, did not renew, like, they were replaced.
Mhm.
So it's me and Sue right now. So it's really, like I said, we do everything for you. If you need anything, you just come to us directly. So,
Okay.
anybody? We'll have to open the nominations first.
Open it.
Okay, thank you. And then, do we have any nominations?
Can't do your name on there.
This is my first meeting.
That's all right, well,
Baptism by fire.
Okay.
I'll nominate Lawrence if you would accept.
Okay.
yeah, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
That's good.
there you go.
Yeah.
Do you accept? Need a first?
I'll be first.
Thank you. Second?
I'll be second.
And we'll go through really quick. Oh, I need somebody to
I
close.
moved nomination to be closed. Yeah.
Okay.
It's only once a year.
Okay.
You got to warm up last week
I know.
with the advisory council.
Jack? Jack?
Yeah.
Lawrence, abstain. Kathy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations, Lawrence.
Don't fail us.
Yeah, don't fail us now.
For sure. I can't take it.
I think your
Congratulations,
terminology might be a
Lawrence, you
little
got the
bit
job
off
of doing.
there, but I know that what you're saying is that
Right,
there were
right.
this many resulting
Right, it was a
posts.
total of this
Yeah,
many
I think I
reached,
said if you would ever have any
6,100 more
questions,
because it
just
was
let me know.
reached.
Oh, I got you.
We got it.
Okay.
6,100 of those 13,000
Yeah.
were
So
because
there
of
was
the
a lot of
boost.
organic.
Ask them a
Yeah.
bunch of questions.
That's what we're here
Show
for.
them
All
maybe
my-
it makes
all of
them look
my-
like they did all the work.
People,
Okay, do we have any
Shared
other
it.
business to come before the
So-
board?
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Do you have an idea what your sales are?